The answer is this. This game show has been on the air for a long time, since the 80s. And what would that response would be? What is Jeopardy? And that's today's featured game on the wide world of game shows. Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews presents Wide World of Game Shows. Greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to the wide world of game shows. I'm Duel, the Big D, from Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So today's featured game is what is probably one of the longest running game shows out there, aside from Wheel of Fortune and The Price is Right. Yes, a game that really tests your knowledge and what have you by giving your answer in the form of a question. So now, without further ado, I bring to you Jeopardy! Jeopardy is a fun-filled quiz game where you must give your answers in the form of a question. Now, this originally started out on NBC back in 1964 and lasted until 1979, and it was also shown in syndication from the mid-70s to the late 70s, and then, of course, ran to this day from when it came back in 1985. 84. My mistake. I'm going to let that slide. Now, Jeopardy was created by Merv Griffin. Of course, his company produced the show from its very start until 1994, until Columbia TriStar picked up, and then Sony Pictures Television. Now, for this one, I'm mostly going to talk about the current version, but I will talk about the original series, though. Let's see. Now, the show originally premiered in March of 1964 on NBC and aired until 1975, but the nighttime syndicated edition aired weekly from September 74 and September 75. But I say it would continue on in reruns, and then a revival, the all-new Jeopardy, from October 78 to March 79. Now, of course, the current version we know of, which airs in syndication, premiered in September of 1984. Now, Art Fleming hosted the original series, and Don Pardo served as announcer until 75, and John Harlan announced the all-new Jeopardy! 78 to 79 season. Now, the daily syndicated version was originally hosted by the late, great Alex Trebek, whom we sadly lost back in 2020, and his last episode aired in early 2021. Johnny Gilbert was the announcer, and he still is to this day. Now, of course, after the death of Trebek, variety of guest hosts completed the season, began with consulting producer and former contestant Ken Jennings. But then, of course, executive producer Mike Richards took over, but then relinquished within a week. So Jennings and Vaiga Mayim Bialik have served as permanent rotating hosts of the syndicated series. Now, Bialik currently hosts additional primetime specials on ABC and spinoffs. Excuse me again, I got tongue-tied again. Anyway, the show is currently now in its 38th season in syndication, and is one of the longest running game shows of all time, of course, alongside Wheel of Fortune and The Price is Right. Now, each game of Jeopardy features 3 contestants competing in 3 rounds: the Jeopardy round, the Double Jeopardy round, and Final Jeopardy. Each round, contestants are presented trivia clues phrased as answers, to which they must respond in the form of a question that correctly identifies whatever the clue is describing. For example, if a contestant were to select presidents for 200, the resulting clue could be this father of our country didn't really chop down a cherry tree. To which the correct response is who is or who was George Washington, and that contestant would be correct. Now, again, I've only seen a little bit of the original series, so I'm going to continue with the current version. The Jeopardy and Double Jeopardy rounds each feature large electronic game boards consisting of 6 categories with 5 clues each. They're valued by dollar amounts from lowest to highest, ostensibly by difficulty. The values of these clues increased over time, with those in the Double Jeopardy round always being double the range of the first round. On the original series, clue values in the first round ranged from $10 to $50. In the Jeopardy round, and 200 to 100 in Double Jeopardy. On the all new Jeopardy, they range from 25 to 125 and 50 to 250. Now, of course, the current series first round originally ranged from 100 to 500 in the first round, 200 to 1,000 in Double Jeopardy. Now, as of 2001, they are now 200 to 1,000 in regular Jeopardy and 400 to 2,000 in Double Jeopardy. Now, gameplay begins when the returning champion or in Tournament of Champions play the highest seeded player, or in all tournaments, second or final round play, the player with the highest score in the previous round selects a clue, and what have you. Now, once they hear the clue, the contestant must ring in with a lockout device. Now, the first person who rings in successfully is prompted to respond to the clue by saying a question. Any grammatically coherent question with the correct answer within it counts as correct. If the contestant responds correctly, its dollar value is added to the score, and they may select a new clue. But if it's incorrect, they deduct that number of dollars from their score. If the response is not technically incorrect, but otherwise judged too vague to be correct, the contestant is given additional time to provide a more specific response. Whenever none of the contestants ring in and respond correctly, yes, and you'll hear boop, boop, boop. Yes, and then the host reveals the answer. Now, the contestant who has the lowest score selects the first clue to start Double Jeopardy. If there is a tie for the contestant with the lowest score, the contestant with the last correct question among the tied players will select first in the round. A rule change since season 38, the current season, and made public on an August 2022 show podcast. Behind one clue in the Jeopardy round and 2 in Double Jeopardy is the Daily Double. The name and the inspiration were taken from a horse racing term. Now, daily double clues with a sound component are known as audio daily doubles, and clues with a video component are known as video daily doubles. Before the clue is revealed, the contestant who has selected this must declare a wager from a minimum of $5 to a maximum of his or her entire score, known as a true daily double, or the highest clue value available in the round, whichever is greater. Only the contestant who chooses this is allowed to answer. Correct response adds the wager. If it's incorrect or failure to provide any response, deducts that number. Whether or not they respond correctly, they will choose the next clue. Now, during the Jeopardy round, contestants are not penalized for forgetting to phrase their response in the form of a question, although the host will remind them to watch their phrasing in future responses if they do. In the Daily Double, Daily Jeopardy round, and in Daily Double in Jeopardy round, the phrasing rule is followed more strictly, with a response only able to be ruled as correct if it is phrased properly in question form. A contestant who initially does not do this must rephrase it before the host rules against them. Let's see here. Yeah. Now, I gotta tell you, they keep playing until the time runs out and what have you. Now, however, a word of warning: if a contestant finished the double Jeopardy round with $0 or a negative score, are automatically eliminated from further play and awarded a consolation prize. And the rules was on at least one episode hosted by Art Fleming, and all three contestants finished with $0 or less. As a result, no final Jeopardy round. Now, this rule is still in place for the syndicated version, although staff has suggested that it is not set in stone and they may decide to display the clue for home viewers' play if such a situation were ever to occur. Now, the final Jeopardy round features a single clue. At the end of the double Jeopardy round, the host announces the category and a commercial break falls. And then contestants who finish Double Jeopardy with less than $1 do not participate. Now, the contestants can wager any amount of their earnings, but may not wager certain numbers with connotations that are deemed inappropriate. And contestants write their wagers using a light pen on an electronic display on their lectern, and are limited to 5 minutes, although the limit may be adjusted if production issues delay the resumption of taping. After the break, the final Jeopardy clue is revealed. The contestants have a 30-second time limit to write their responses on the electronic display. Well, of course, there's no time limit though, but you have 30 seconds and the show's thank music plays. Now, if either the display or the pen malfunctions, contestants can manually write their responses and wagers using an index card and marker. Although the index card has the required phrasing pre-printed on each side, who or what visually impaired or blind contestants typically type their responses and wagers with a computer keyboard. Now, contestants' responses are revealed in order of their pre-final Jeopardy scores from highest to lowest. Once a correct response is revealed, the host confirms it. Otherwise, the host reveals the correct response if all contestants respond incorrectly. A correct response adds the amount of the contestant's wager to his or her score. A failure to respond, insufficiently specific response, misspelling that affects the pronunciation of the answer, or failure to phrase the response as a question, even if correct, deducts that number. And the contestant with the highest score at the end of the round is that day's winner. If there's a tie for second place, consolation prizes are awarded based on the scores going to the final Jeopardy round. If all three contestants finish with no dollars, no one returns as champion for the next show. And based on scores going to final Jeopardy, two contestants who were first and second receive the second place prize, and the contestant in third receives the third place prize. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I gotta say it's really something. I don't really watch Jeopardy a whole lot. I did at times when I was a kid, and I do, and like Wheel of Fortune, I still show respect for the game and what have you. Anyway, and there'd be other variations to go on through with Jeopardy and what have you. Now I'm still glad it's still going, even though despite Alex Trebek passed away. He was a great person. Now, with the success of the syndicated Jeopardy, it would go on to spin out various things, including home games, board games, computer games, and even games for home consoles, most notably the original Nintendo and the Game Boy. There would also be games for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, as well as games for other consoles. Now, Maurice, the most recent one was one that came in a pack with Wheel of Fortune, I think. Maybe it came along. It was done by Ubisoft. So anyway, yeah. Jeopardy has appeared on other things, even on well TV shows as well. So anyway, yeah. Now, of course, there would be lots of other spin-offs that would follow. Now, of course, they still currently have a new spin-off called Jeopardy, the Greatest of All Time, which ABC airs. Now, there were three, after it had been on for almost 15 years, there'd be three other spin-offs that came out. Those include Rock and Roll Jeopardy, Sports Jeopardy. Now, I know Rock and Roll Jeopardy actually aired on the VH1 network. Sports Jeopardy, let's see, actually got shown on the streaming service Crackle, and the kids version Jep, which got shown on Game Show Network. Now I will do one of those games, and I'm not never saw Sports Jeopardy. I have seen some of Rock and Roll Jeopardy, and I know I've seen Jep. Now, if you still watch Jeopardy, please let me know what you think of this show, and let me know if you still like the old school version, or if you really miss what it was like back in the old day when Alex Trebek was around. You can tell me in the comment section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Stay tuned. I'll have another video coming up soon. So thanks for watching. If you like this, consider watching these other long-run game shows that I've done vids on. In the upper left-hand corner is the vid I did on The Price is Right. The upper right-hand corner is the vid I did on Wheel of Fortune, which was my 20th episode of the Wide World Game Shows. This is actually number 30. Yes, can you believe it? Or if you would like something different that may not be for the big guys, go to the bottom left-hand corner and see the previous episode of with Nick Arcade, which has done so well. Almost gotten 40 views. Thank you. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe if you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., as well as the wide world of game shows. Then I'm your guy. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.